All right, so we're diving into the world of textile colorists today, and we're lucky enough to have RoleCatcher's amazing resources to help us out. They give us the inside scoop on what this job really is, the work environment, what the career path looks like, or most importantly, how to just ACE that interview.
It's really interesting how much more there is to the role than meets the eye. It's not just about being good with colors.
Yeah, so let's unpack that a bit. What does RoleCatcher actually say about what a textile colorist does on a day-to-day basis?
Well, they really emphasize the importance of understanding things like different dyes and the properties of different textiles. And then obviously there's this color theory, but it goes beyond just picking nice colors. You're actually developing palettes, creating samples, troubleshooting color issues that pop up, and increasingly there's a huge focus on sustainability too.
Wow, okay, that's a lot more than I initially thought. So how can someone even begin to weave all of that into their interview answers, especially when you're already nervous and trying to make a good impression?
That's where good preparation comes in. And that's where RoleCatcher is really helpful because they've actually gathered 10 of the most common interview questions.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so let's dive into those and I can share some strategies for how to craft some really strong responses.
Okay, awesome. Let's hear that first question.
Okay, so the first one is a classic. It's, how did you become interested in textile coloring?
Ah, the dreaded, tell me about yourself.
Kind of, but this is your moment to really shine and show your passion for this. So don't just give a dry, factual answer. Think about what sparked your interest. Was there a specific moment, a piece of art, a textile that just really caught your eye? Tell a story, make it personal.
That's such a good point because it really is about showing that you're genuinely enthusiastic,
Yeah.
not just reciting facts.
Yeah.
I bet they might even ask a follow-up question based on your story.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a good thing. It means they're engaged and they want to learn more about you.
Okay, so what's the next question on the list?
All right. So the second one gets a little more technical. It's, what is your experience with color theory?
Oh, getting right into it.
Yeah. And this is where you want to be really specific. So mention any courses you've taken, projects you've worked on, software that you're familiar with. And the key here is to link it all back to textile applications.
So not just saying like, oh, I took a color theory class in college, but saying, I took this class and it really helped me understand how to create harmonious color palettes for different types of fabrics.
Exactly. Show them you understand how theory actually translates to the real world of textile production.
And this is where I think RoleCatcher's AI tools can be a total game changer.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, because their AI can actually analyze job descriptions and then suggest specific skills that you should emphasize in your answers. So for example, if a job listing mentions something like color forecasting, you could talk about how you've actually used color theory to predict upcoming trends in textile design.
Oh, that's amazing. It's like having a personal career coach who's like tailoring their advice to each specific job you apply for.
Exactly.
Okay, this is awesome. All right, let's move on to question number 3. What is it?
All right. Question number 3 is, can you explain the process of color matching?
Okay.
And this is where you can showcase your technical knowledge. So walk them through the process step by step. Show them that you really understand all the little details and intricacies. Bonus points if you can mention challenges you faced while you were color matching and how you actually overcame those challenges.
So like that time that you had to match a very specific shade of blue for a silk scarf and the dye lot wasn't consistent.
Exactly. So share how you analyzed the problem, adjusted your formula, and then ultimately made sure that the final product met the client's expectations. Problem solving is really valued in this field.
Oh, for sure. And I bet RoleCatcher's AI could give you feedback on how detailed your explanation should be.
You got it. They can analyze sample answers and let you know if you're providing enough detail or if you're getting too technical for the specific role.
Oh, that's so helpful. Okay, so we're moving right along. I'm feeling so much more confident already. What's the next question on the list?
Okay, so question number 4 focuses on staying current. It is, how do you stay up to date with industry trends and advancements in textile coloring technology? The textile world is constantly evolving, so interviewers want to know that you're committed to continuous learning.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this is where maybe mentioning industry publications, conferences, or even online forums where people discuss these things could be helpful.
Absolutely. It shows that you're actively engaged in the field and you're not just relying on what you learned in school. RoleCatcher's Career Guide even suggests specific publications and organizations to follow.
No, that's so useful. Okay, so it's not just knowing the technical stuff. It's about showing that you're really passionate and involved in the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sensing a theme here.
Yeah, you're getting it. Okay, let's move on to question number 5. How do you ensure that your color formulations are consistent across different production runs? This one's all about quality control and that attention to detail.
Yeah, because it's not enough to create a beautiful color if you can't replicate it right.
Exactly. So think about all the measures you take to ensure consistency. Maybe you have a really meticulous documentation process, or you use specific software for color management. Highlight your system.
Yeah, and maybe even mention a time when you caught a potential inconsistency before it became a major problem.
Great point. That really shows initiative and a proactive approach to quality control.
Okay, 2 more questions to go in this batch. What's next?
Okay, question number 6 is about problem solving. It's, can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a color issue during production? Listen, everyone makes mistakes, but what really matters is how you handle them.
So pick a specific example that showcases your analytical skills and your ability to just think on your feet.
Right. Walk them through the problem, how you identified the root cause, the steps you took to resolve it, and what you learned from the whole experience.
I love that. And again, I bet RoleCatcher's AI could help you choose the most impactful example to share for that specific job.
Precisely. It can analyze your work history and identify situations that best demonstrate the skills that are required for that particular role.
Okay, amazing. All right, on to the final question in this set. What we got?
Okay, this one's all about collaboration. It's, how do you collaborate with designers and other stakeholders to ensure that the final product really meets their vision? Because remember, textile colorists, they don't work in isolation.
Right, it's a team effort.
Okay.
So this is where those soft skills come into play, like communication, active listening, and the ability to give and receive feedback effectively.
Exactly. Share an example of a successful collaboration where you highlighted how you communicated clearly, respected different perspectives, and worked together to achieve that shared goal.
And I'm guessing RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your answer to highlight the specific collaboration styles that employer values.
You're catching on. It can analyze company reviews and identify keywords related to their work culture. So then you can emphasize how you align with their values.
That is incredible. Okay, so we've covered the first 7 questions, and I'm honestly already feeling so much more prepared. What's next on our deep dive agenda?
All right, so we've made some great progress with those questions, but I think it's time to shift gears a bit and talk about career paths. You know, where can this role actually take you? RoleCatcher does a really good job at breaking down those typical experience levels for textile colorists. There's entry-level, junior, and senior.
Okay, that's really helpful context because then you know what you should be highlighting in your answers.
Right.
Like if I'm an entry-level candidate, I'm not going to talk about the same things as someone who's been doing this for 10 years.
Right, and that's really smart to think about. So at the entry level, you're most likely going to be assisting more senior colorists. You'll be running tests, mixing dyes, really getting hands-on with all those fundamentals. It's a lot of learning and building that strong foundation.
So in an interview for an entry-level role, it'd be really important to highlight that you're eager to learn and you're a hard worker, right?
Absolutely. And then as you transition to a junior textile colorist, you start taking on more independent responsibilities. So that means things like developing color palettes, collaborating directly with designers, really getting into the nitty-gritty of the whole process.
Oh, so that's where you really start flexing those color theory muscles we talked about before, and you actually get to make some creator contributions.
You got it. And then finally, when you reach that senior textile colorist level, you're leading teams, you're overseeing entire projects, you're conducting in-depth research, and you're mentoring those junior colorists that are coming up.
Wow, it really is like climbing a ladder. It sounds like leadership skills become super important the further you advance. Does RoleCatcher have any advice on how to demonstrate leadership potential, even if you haven't officially held a leadership role yet?
They do. They recommend thinking back to times when you maybe took initiative on a project or mentored somebody. Or maybe there was a successful team project where you played a really key role. Even if you didn't have the official leader title, those experiences can show that you have what it takes.
That's really helpful because sometimes it's hard to think outside of those traditional job titles. Okay, so I'm really starting to see how thinking about your career progression can help you shape how you answer those interview questions.
Yeah, it's all connected. And speaking of career advancement, RoleCatcher also mentions a couple of certifications that can really give you an edge. Have you heard of the Textile Colorist certification?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, and then there's also the Color Management Professional certification.
Oh, okay. So what's the benefit of having those on your resume?
Well, they show a real commitment to professional development and they validate your expertise. Think of them as proof that you've really gone above and beyond to hone those skills.
I bet employers love seeing that kind of initiative.
They absolutely do. It really shows that you're serious about your craft and that you're dedicated to continuous learning.
Okay, before we move back to those interview questions, I'm kind of curious about something. RoleCatcher keeps mentioning the importance of staying up to date with industry trends. But how can someone actually demonstrate that in an interview setting? It feels different from just listing publications that you read.
It's all about weaving that knowledge into your answers naturally. So, for example, let's say they ask you about a time you had to troubleshoot a color issue. You could mention how you considered the limitations of a certain dyeing technology to show that you're aware of the latest advancements.
Oh, I see. So it's not about just name-dropping trends. It's about actually showing you understand their practical implications.
Exactly. It's about showing that you're not just following trends, you're thinking about how they impact your actual work.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, let's get back to those interview questions. We still have 3 more to cover, right?
We do. Question number 8 is, can you discuss your experience with natural dyes and pigments? Sustainability is a big deal in textiles these days.
Oh, that's one where I'd get nervous because, honestly, I haven't had a ton of hands-on experience with natural dyes yet. What if they ask me about something I'm not familiar with?
Don't panic. Even if you haven't worked with them directly, just demonstrating knowledge about the benefits of natural dyes and pigments and talking about how sustainability is a growing trend is super important. So you can talk about research you've done, articles you've read, or even your enthusiasm for learning more about this area.
So being honest and showing that you're willing to learn is key.
Absolutely. And you know what? RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you frame your answer in a way that highlights your transferable skills. So for example, even if you haven't worked with natural dyes, you can still talk about your experience with color matching and achieving consistent results, which is still relevant.
That's a relief. Okay, it feels much less daunting now. What's the next question we should prepare for?
Question number 9 kind of builds on that theme. It's, how do you ensure that your color formulations are environmentally sustainable? This is where you can really showcase any initiatives you've been a part of to reduce waste or explore eco-friendly alternatives.
I've been reading a lot lately about low-impact dyes and water conservation techniques in textile production. Would mentioning that type of thing be relevant?
Absolutely. It shows that you're aware of industry best practices and that you're genuinely committed to minimizing your environmental impact.
And if the job description really emphasizes sustainability, RoleCatcher's AI could flag those keywords and recommend I weave those into my answers right.
Exactly. It can tailor your responses to align with the company's specific values and priorities.
Man, this AI tool is really something else. Okay, on to the final question. What is it?
All right, the last one is, can you describe a time when you had to lead a team of colorists on a large project? Now, even if you haven't had an official leadership title, think about a time when maybe you took charge or delegated tasks, or maybe you motivated people to work towards a common goal.
Well, I once volunteered to coordinate the dye lab for a student fashion show. It was chaotic, but we pulled it off.
That's a perfect example. You can talk about how you organized the workflow, make sure everyone had what they needed, and kept the team on track to meet those deadlines.
And RoleCatcher's AI could help me highlight the specific leadership skills that align with the job description right.
You got it. It can analyze the language that they use in the job posting and suggest ways to frame your experience so that it really resonates with what they're looking for.
Okay, that is so valuable. I'm feeling so much more confident about tackling this question now. What else should we be thinking about as we kind of wrap up this deep dive?
Well, let's shift gears one more time and talk about the big picture. Career paths and where this role can actually take you. RoleCatcher paints a picture of all these different possibilities. It's not just the traditional roles within textile companies. There's so many exciting avenues opening up, like what about research and development? Or color forecasting. You could even go into textile design. It really is like a whole world of possibilities. And, one area that RoleCatcher highlights is the growing field of smart textiles. Have you heard about those?
I've heard the term, but I'm not totally sure what they are. What makes a textile smart?
Well, imagine fabrics that can actually respond to things like heat, light, or even pressure. They can change color, they can regulate temperature, or even monitor your health. It's a super cutting-edge field with so much potential for innovation.
Wow, that sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Mhm.
So how can someone who's interested in textile coloration position themselves to be part of this emerging field?
Well, it's all about staying ahead of the curve, right? So taking courses on things like material science, learning about nanotechnology, and just keeping an eye on all the latest research in textile innovation can really give you a leg up.
And I bet RoleCatcher's AI tools can help with this too.
Oh, absolutely. Their platform can actually track those emerging trends and suggest specific skills that you should focus on developing. They might even recommend online courses or workshops to help you build that expertise.
Oh, that's amazing. It's like having a personalized career roadmap that's tailored to the future of the industry.
Exactly. And don't forget about the power of networking. Going to conferences, joining those professional organizations, and connecting with people on platforms like LinkedIn can open up so many doors to opportunities you might not even know exist.
So it's not just about what you know, it's about who you know, and just being part of that larger textile community.
Precisely. It's all about immersing yourself in the industry, staying curious, and just never stop learning.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. I honestly feel so much more prepared and even excited about all the possibilities. What an awesome field.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, preparation is key. But don't forget to let your passion shine through textile coloration is where creativity and technical expertise really come together. And I think that's something interviewers are going to be looking for.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, what's one final piece of advice you'd give to someone who's about to go into a textile colorist interview?
Just be yourself. Authenticity goes a long way. Showcase your knowledge, show off your enthusiasm, and let them see what makes you uniquely qualified for that role. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to help you every step of the way.
That's great advice. So there you have it, folks. We've gone over everything from really understanding what this role is all about, tackling those tricky interview questions, we explored different career paths, and we even got a glimpse into the future of textile coloration. We hope this deep dive has given you all the tools and the confidence you need to really color your future bright.